A king once brought his most trusted minister into the throne room and asked him a very strange question. He wanted to know if there was a well that a person could fall into and never, ever come back out. The minister smiled. To him, the answer seemed obvious. He suggested that if someone fell down a physical well, you could easily drop a rope down to pull them out, or send someone down to help them escape. But the king shook his head. He flatly rejected the minister's logic. That was absolutely not the answer he was looking for. The minister was suddenly confused. The king's riddle demanded an insight that existed far outside the laws of physics or simple logistics. The king gave him an ultimatum. The minister had exactly 3 days to find the true answer. If he failed, he would be permanently removed from his royal position. Instantly, the minister's quiet confidence evaporated. Faced with the sudden threat to his status and livelihood, he grew pale and panic set in. He rushed home and began obsessing. He thought all day. He stayed awake all night, mentally testing out every conceivable answer he could imagine, but nothing fit the king's criteria. By the evening of the second day, the minister was entirely exhausted. Unable to sit still, he wandered out of his house and began walking, hoping a solution would somehow reveal itself. The sheer terror of losing his prestigious title had short-circuited his rational mind. A man renowned for his wisdom was now reduced to a state of desperate, blind panic. His aimless walking led him far from the palace to a quiet dirt road. There, in the late afternoon sunlight, he spotted an older shepherd tending to a sheep. Exhausted and thirsty, the minister asked the man for a drink. The shepherd handed him water, but immediately noticed the powerful royal official looked deeply distressed. The minister hesitated. But figuring he had absolutely nothing left to lose at this point, he decided to gamble and tell this rural peasant about the king's impossible riddle. The shepherd's reaction was entirely unexpected. He burst out laughing. He claimed he knew the exact answer, but he refused to say another word unless the minister agreed to come inside his home. In less than 48 hours, desperation had completely inverted the social hierarchy. One of the most powerful men in the entire kingdom was now entirely at the mercy of a rural peasant. They arrived at the shepherd's small, fire-lit house, where the minister immediately demanded the answer. The shepherd agreed, but laid down a strict baseline condition. The minister had to eat this simple meal the shepherd prepared for him first. Starving and impatient, the minister agreed. As he reached for the plate, the shepherd stopped him and added a shocking addendum. The minister could only eat the food after the shepherd took a bite himself. The minister froze in disgust. It was a massive insult to his status. But the ticking deadline echoed in his mind, so he swallowed his pride and nodded. Before he could finally eat, the shepherd raised his hand again with one final, enraging condition. Before the minister could have the leftovers, the sheep had to eat from the plate first. The shepherd placed the meal in front of his livestock. The sheep chewed on the food, and then the tainted, saliva-covered plate was pushed back toward the silently furious minister. He had now abandoned his personal dignity and his basic hygiene. The intense, burning desire to hold on to his position was making a highly intelligent man willingly accept total humiliation. Trembling with anger, the minister took a deep breath. He leaned forward, preparing to eat the animal's sloppy leftovers. But at the very last second, the shepherd pulled the plate away. He told the minister he didn't actually have to eat it. The minister was livid, demanding to know what was going on. The shepherd looked at him calmly and finally delivered the answer to the king's riddle. Greed. The minister stared at the plate and then back at the shepherd. Every choice he had made in this hut was a lived reality of the trap the king had described. The shepherd broke it down. He pointed out that the minister was willing to sacrifice his peace, his relationships, and his deeply held values to eat after a far animal, simply because he was terrified of losing his royal status. This diagram illustrates the mechanics of that well. It is an infinite descent built from the materials of blind desire, requiring no stone walls to keep its prisoner trapped. Deeply humbled, the minister finally understood how easily his own status could blind him. He left the rural cottage, returned to the palace, and delivered the correct answer to the king. The distinction is vital. Ambition pushes a person to become better. Greed forces a person to sacrifice everything they are, just to hold on to what they have. The most inescapable traps in life are those we walk into willingly, led by our own unchecked desires.